In the headlines, 7 more bodies recovered as minister warns of flood threat. Army chief relocates to Benue State amid rising insecurity. Security forces open fire on anti-kidnap protesters as tension mounts in Abraka. On the foreign scene, M23 rebels executed 21 civilians in Goma. ICC begins investigation. Coming up. Hello and welcome to Trust News Update. I am Maimuna Bagudu. Seven more bodies have been recovered 6 days after the deadly flood that swept through Mokwa town, the headquarters of Mokwa local government area of Niger State. 4 of the bodies were recovered on Monday evening, while 3 others were recovered on Tuesday, bringing the total number of deaths to 160 as officially announced by the Niger State Emergency Management Agency. The Director General of Nesima, Abdullahi Baba Ara, said the agency has to sort the services of locals to dig out the corpses from the ground. The flood, which occurred in the early hours on Thursday, claims about 200 lives, according to local sources, with about 500 still missing. Now, the federal government on Tuesday said 1,249 communities in 176 local government areas in 33 states and the FCT are at risk of experiencing heavy flooding this year. The Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation, Joseph Telumun Usev, who was speaking on the devastating floods that ravaged communities in Mokwa local government area of Niger State, told journalists in Abuja that the predictions was contained in the 2025 annual flood outlook released by the Hydrological Services Agency, an agency of the ministry, in April. The minister said aside from Mokwa, 19 more local government areas in Niger State are at high risk of flooding in the coming weeks or months. Trust TV reports that about 200 lives have been so far lost to the incident that occurred in the early hours of Thursday, May 29th. The minister said the flood in Mokwa town was primarily caused by heavy rainfall due to extreme weather conditions occasioned by climate change, an emerging global phenomenon which overwhelmed local drainage systems. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluyede, has moved to Makurdi, the capital of Benue State, in response to the ongoing killings of innocent villagers by herders and military groups. The Chief of Army Staffs, accompanied by top officials from Army headquarters, arrived from Abuja on Tuesday to assess the deteriorating security situation firsthand. His visit comes in response to the wave of violent attacks by suspected herdsmen and armed militias, which have left scores dead, several injured, and countless homes and farmlands destroyed. In Benue State, the Chief of Army Staff is expected to conduct strategic meetings with all operationals and unit commanders to discuss future actions and review current operations aimed at halting the killings. The Chief of Army Staff will also visit the locations of troops and operational bases within the state to engage with the soldiers and enhance their morale and fighting spirit. He is expected to visit the villages that have suffered attacks to reassure the residents of their safety and the commitment of the Nigerian Army to safeguard the lives and properties of law-abiding citizens. Now to Delta State, where tensions flared in Abarka, Itope, East local government area of the state. On Monday, a security agent allegedly opened fire on an unarmed resident protesting the ceaseless wave of kidnapping terrorizing the university town. The protest, which had entered its sixth consecutive day, was initially peaceful until chaos erupted following the arrival of heavily armed security personnel, including soldiers and police officers. Eyewitnesses said the agents fired warning shots to disperse the crowd, causing panic and injuries. Though no deaths were reported yet, one protester reportedly sustained a facial injury and was seen bleeding profusely. Residents and students of Delta State University, Delsu Abarka, have been staging daily protests to demand urgent action from the Delta State government and security agencies over the escalating cases of adoptions. The protesters accused local police of neglect and complicity, claiming that kidnappers now operate with impunity in the town. When contained, the Delta State Police Public Relations Officer Bright Edafe confirmed that the Commissioner of Police has directed the area commander to take control of the situation in Abraka. Now, the Fulani community in Karim Lamido local government of Taraba State has raised alarm over alleged killings of their members by army personnel deployed to manage ongoing farmer-herder clashes. In a letter to the National Security Advisor and the 6th Brigade Nigerian Army, they accused soldiers of killing unarmed Fulani herders during recent violence. The complaint detailed a May 26 incident where army troops and local militants attacked the home of Fulani leader Addo Lamido, resulting in the death of Suda Sugil Lamido and the detention of another community member. The Fulani community is demanding the removal and transfer of the officer involved for biased handling of the crisis. Now, meanwhile, human rights lawyers in Taraba have rejected the state government's commission of inquiry into the clashes, citing a lack of transparency, poor stakeholder representation, and potential conflicts of interest that could undermine the inquiry's credibility. The Army's 6th Brigade Public Relations Officer is yet to react to the allegations. Now, the Take It Back movement, led by activist Omoyele Sowore, has insisted on staging its June 12th national protest against killings and undemocratic practices by those in power. In a statement by the group's national coordinator, Juwon Sayolu, the movement rejected what it called the hallowed ceremonies and official pageantry that usually accompany the day. The group said there are signs of democratic collapse across the country, lamenting that democracy, which was won through struggle, sweat and blood, has been dismantled by the very forces that once promised change. It said the proposed June 12th march is not just for the group, but for the slain in Benue, the displaced in Plateau, the silenced in detention, and the starving masses abandoned by the corrupt elite. Now, 3 days after the heartbreaking accident that claimed the lives of Kano State athletes and officials returning from the 22nd National Sports Festival in Ondo State, the mood across the state remains heavy. In a mark of collective grief, the state is officially mourning the tragedy to honor the lives cut short. The report.
In Kano State, it's a day of mourning as residents take a moment to honor victims of the tragic road crash involving the state's contingent to the 22nd National Sports Festival. Families and friends gathered at neighborhoods across the state to remember and say prayers for the young talent as well as officials lost in the accident. In the Tamburawa area of Kano, mourners gather at the home of Bilal Ahmad Jegus, a 20-year-old final year student of Islamic and Social Studies at the Saadatu Rimi College of Education. Friends and family gathered together to grieve the loss of a promising young man.
I know who Bilal is. I know what is his ambition. So I'm completely disorganized when I heard that he's involved in this tragic accident. So I'm not feeling the way that I'm feeling before.
Speaking about Bilal's short but impactful life, his father Ahmad Musa admitted he never realized how many lives his son had touched until after his passing.
Wato Bilal ni kaina matsina na mahaifinsa duk da na san shi amma ban ƙara sanin sa ba sai bayan Allah ya karɓi rayuwarsa.
Bilal is my son, but I can say I only truly got to know what he had achieved after his demise. Many prominent people came from various places to offer their condolences, and even young people spoke about how Bilal was a role model to them. So I use this opportunity to call on young people. Whatever talent God has blessed you with, you can become whatever you want to become in life if you use it the right way and avoid drugs and idleness.
To idan kai wannan amfani da wannan baiwa ta hanya ta dace, baka tafi harka na shirme ba, baka tafi harka na shaye-shaye ba, to insha Allah duk abin da kake so ka zama a rayuwa na zaman duniya zaka zama.
At both Brigade and Fage areas of Kano, there is noticeable grief at homes of others who lost their lives in the accident. The mood is somber, with relatives struggling to come to terms with sudden loss of their loved ones.
It didn't just come suddenly. It just come unexpected, and we find it very, very difficult, and it was a terrifying story. So I don't know how can I describe it, but it was very sad to us because it's something that we do not expect it, and it just came. So there's nothing that we can say, that only that we say inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un. We are from God, and it's on to Him that we return back. Everybody nobody is above dying. Everybody is going to die, definitely.
It's an unforgettable event. Nasiru is my brother. He completed the game successfully and we stayed in touch. Even when they arrived in Kaduna and Zaria, we spoke on the phone until we received the unfortunate news of the accident. We pray that Allah grants them eternal rest. At the home of wrestling medalist Hussein Garba, his aged father receives mourners for the young man who was lost when he was needed most.
We received the information, shock, which all the members of the family are commiserating with this. As a young and energetic youth, we lost him at the moment where his presence is most needed.
The bereaved families have expressed gratitude to the authorities for the support extended to them, each receiving 1 million naira in cash assistance along with food items as they navigate this difficult time. Abdulaziz Ibrahim, Trust TV News, Kano.
The federal government has pledged to revive the cocoa industry and the entire agricultural value chain in Nigeria. Vice President Kashim Shettima made the pledge in Abuja during a meeting with a delegation from the World Cocoa Foundation, led by its president, Chris Vincent. Shettima said President Bola Tinubu's administration was committed to moving Nigeria from being a mere cocoa producer to a global processor. He said the Federal Executive Council recently approved the establishment of the National Cocoa Management Board to reposition the industry, adding that the renewed hope agenda was focused on repositioning Nigerians' role in the market. Earlier, the president of the World Cocoa Foundation, Chris Vincent, said the foundation was ready to work with the Nigerian government to revitalize the cocoa sector in line with EU sustainability standards.
The price of cocoa has skyrocketed to high heaven. Most of the cocoa trees are aging and on small-scale farmer level. With the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, we are going back to the drawing board. In fact, at our last Federal Executive Council meeting, the government approved the establishment of a cocoa development board geared towards revitalizing the cocoa industry and the whole cocoa value chain. We don't want to be producers of cocoa. We want to be processors of cocoa. Because a ton of cocoa might pay you $9,000 now, but processed cocoa will pay you $30,000. If you turn them into chocolate bars, that product, that 1 ton, might pay you $50,000.
President has already approved the Cocoa Management Board, the Cocoa Development Board. So this ties in very well, and this will be the foundational organization that the new board will work with to design programs and policies that will transform the cocoa sector in Nigeria, both from production, processing, marketing, traceability, and also social component of it, socio-economic transformation in the rural community. They have done it in other countries. They assisted Ivory Coast to be the #1 producer in the world. So that keys directly into the vision, the bold vision of Mr. President to transform the cocoa sector, to double or triple our production, to get us to where we were before and even move us further. Player in the sector.
Now, the Deputy Speaker of Ondo State House of Assembly, Abayomi Akinruntan, and the Majority Leader, Ogunmola Suyi, have resigned from their respective positions. Akinruntan, who represents Ilaje Constituency 1, and Ogunmola Suyi, Owo Constituency 1, are both members of the ruling All Progressive Congress. The pair announced their resignations on the floor of the House during Tuesday's plenary session, which was presided over by the Speaker, Olamide Oladiji. Akinruntan cited political power-sharing arrangements within the state as the reason for his resignation. In the wake of these developments, Ololade Ogbegudu, representing Okitipupa Constituency 2, has been selected as the new Deputy Speaker, while Olatunji Oshanti from Ose State Constituency has assumed the role of Majority Leader. And now in Benue State, where the scar of insurgency still run deep, Governor Baba Gana Zulum has reaffirmed his administration's commitment to protecting children from the horrors of war, including violence, exploitation, and terrorist recruitment. Speaking at the 5th World Congress on Justice with Children in Maiduguri, Zulum promised that the atrocities of the past, where children were taken, broken, and turned into tools of war, will not be allowed to happen again. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime estimates that over 1,300 children were recruited into Boko Haram ranks over the past decade in Borno alone. Trust TV's Bitrus Kurutsi tells us more.
For over a decade, the Boko Haram conflict has torn apart families and communities in northeast Nigeria. But for children, the wounds run deeper. Many were kidnapped, trafficked, forced into marriages, or recruited to fight. UNODC data shows 1,385 children fell into the hands of insurgent groups, some as young as 10. The 5th World Congress on Justice with Children, themed Advancing Child-Centered Justice, is more than just a conference. It's a rallying call to protect, to prevent, and to help young survivors reclaim their lives.
Let us remember, violence against children in the context of insecurity is not inevitable. It is prevalent. But prevention requires more than rhetoric. It demands commitment, resources, and unflinching focus on justice that protects, not punishes, that restores, not retraumatizes.
We don't just ask for your programs, we ask for your proximity, support, inclusion, and partnership. To our communities, we also have a role to play. Justice begins in the smallest of acts, in homes where children are heard, in schools where they are guided, and in streets where they are safe.
Too often, justice for children is misunderstood. It is not about courts and punishments. It must be rooted in compassion, protection, and understanding. Children are not threats. They are human beings with stories. I come from a region I come from a region that has known the sound of gunshots more than the sound of school bells. From communities where children learn how to survive before they learn how to spell. From places where fear is more familiar than hope.
At the event, young voices took the stage, sharing stories of survival and hope. Some had lived through abduction, others lost family members to violence. Their message was clear. They want safety, dignity, and a future. Governor Zulum, visibly moved, vowed that no child in Borno will again be allowed to fall through the cracks of conflict. He promised a stronger, trauma-sensitive juvenile justice system, one that doesn't punish children for their past, but prepares them for a better tomorrow.
And it is unfortunate, I always say, that no child should have gone through what children of Borno State have gone through within the period of the insurgency. And I am reassuring you again that we will do all that it takes to make our children to feel the real impact of juvenile justice.
Officials, partners, and civil society groups at the Congress agreed healing Borno's future means investing in its children. And while the war may have stolen their innocence, the hope is that with the right support, every child can rebuild, not just survive, but thrive. Bitrus Kuruti, Trust TV News, Maiduguri.
Now, away from national matters in business, officials of the Nigerian-Morocco gas pipeline say Nigeria is pursuing $25 billion undersea gas pipeline projects to supply gas to Europe. They stated this during a meeting between Vice President Kashim Shettima and Vitol Group in Abuja. Shettima praised President Bola Tinubu's reforms that have boosted Nigerians' investment appeal, especially in gas. The country's growing focus over oil, citing its large reserves and the stable Nigerian Liquefied Natural Gas Limited. He called on global investors to support the project, which requires technical expertise and aims to ensure steady gas supply to Europe. Vitol executives reaffirmed their long-term commitment to Nigeria's energy sector and highlighted ongoing collaborations with Nigerian companies and government initiatives. And now on the foreign scene, Human Rights Watch has accused Rwanda-backed M23 rebels of executing at least 21 civilians in Eastern Democratic Republic, Congo. In a report published on Tuesday, the NGO said the abuses took place on 22nd and 23rd of February in Goma, the capital of North Kivu province. HRW said dozens of M23 fighters arrived in Goma's Kasika neighborhood on the 22nd of February and shot 7 people in the head near the Katindo military camp, a former Congolese army barracks. The bodies of 11 more people, including a boy, were found at a construction site about 100 meters from the camp. The next day, M23 fighters rounded up about 20 men near a sports field in the city and accused them of belonging to the Congolese army. The International Criminal Court is currently investigating alleged crimes against civilians in North Kivu. And in sports, Manchester United captain Bruno Fernandes has rejected a move to Saudi Pro League outfit Al Hilal. Al Hilal had offered the Portugal international a 3-year contract worth 200 million euros. The Saudi giants were also willing to pay Manchester United 100 million euros to sign the midfielder. Fernandes has now decided to stay in Europe instead of accepting the lucrative offer. According to transfer expert Fabrizio Romano, the player is determined to keep playing at the top level. The 30-year-old scored 8 goals and registered 10 assists in 36 league appearances for United in the 2024-2025 season. He joined the Red Devils from Portuguese club Sporting Lisbon in 2020. With that, we've come to the end of the news update on Trust TV. Do not forget to follow us across all social media platforms and join our YouTube live stream for more news. I am Maimuna Bagudu. Thanks for watching and good evening.